Welcome students, this is day 2 of pre-calculus, and our lesson today has 2 parts to it. One of them deals with exponents, and that's kind of from lessons 1.1.2, and then the second part will be lesson 1.1.4 dealing with rates of change. So this is the first of 2 videos. Please take a few minutes and complete the warm-ups using properties that can be found on the second slide of the handout. I will pause this and you can check your answers after you finish these 5 questions. Welcome back, students. You can check your work here. You basically use 2 properties. One is your product property. The product property says when you are multiplying like bases, add your exponents. The other property is your power property. The power property says when you're taking a power to a power, r to the 4th raised to the 2nd power. That's equivalent to r raised to the 4 times 2. You multiply your exponents when you have power to a power, and you add your exponents when you're multiplying like bases. Continue to the next slide. Here are a list of your properties. I'm not going to go through them. Please take some time to read through this. We only demonstrated a couple of them. Some of the bigger ones are x to the 0 power. In other words, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. And your negative exponent power. Anything raised to the negative exponent is the same as 1 over the base raised to a positive exponent. Well, let's just take a minute to examine that negative exponent property. So if I was to take, and I'm going to do this on the right side, I'm going to take x cubed. Oops, I don't want x cubed. I'm going to take 2 cubed. We know that's 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Well, then 2 squared, that's 4. 2 to the 1st, well, that's 2. Now, what am I doing each time? Well, I'm decreasing the exponent by 1. That's one way to look at it. But I'm also dividing each time by 2. And so if I keep reducing my exponent, 2 to the 0, well, now divide by 2 over here. I get 1. Now let's decrease that exponent again, 2 to the negative 1. Well, divide by 2, you get 1/2. 2 to the negative 2, divide by 2, that's going to give you 1/4. 2 to the negative 3, well, that's half of, 1/4 divided by 2, or 1/8. So 2 to a negative x, that's 1 over 2 to a positive x. That's what your negative exponent property is trying to tell you. On to the next slide. Now I'm going to demonstrate one of these problems with you using your negative exponent property, and then I'm going to have you pause this and finish the rest of these problems. So let's take part B. I have y to the negative 3. That's 1 over y cubed times w to the negative 1. That's 1 over w to the 1st. All of that's being raised to the negative 2. So this would be 1 over, when you multiply your fractions, y cubed times w raised to the negative 2. Now take that negative 2, and you have to take the reciprocal of all of this. So that's y cubed w raised to the 2. So now each of these gets squared. Y cubed squared, power to a power. Let's just write that out. Times w squared, or y to the 6th times w squared. Now that's one way to do it. Now I'm going to erase all this. I'm actually going to show you the faster way to do it. And that's kind of being intuitive with your properties. I'm going to use the power to a power right away. Y to the negative 3 raised to the negative 2 times W to the negative 1 raised to the negative 2. Now I've got the power to a power. Negative 3 times the negative 2 is y to the 6th. W to a negative 1 raised to the negative 2. You're going to multiply your exponents, and you get W squared. Now take a couple minutes, answer the rest of the questions. Well, first of all, pause this to take a couple minutes to answer the rest of the questions, and then come back and play the rest of this video to check your answers. Okay, here are your answers. Please take a couple minutes to look through them. Now, one thing you might be wondering is over here in part C. Please be very careful of this negative s to the 5th. The negative is not part of the s, or in other words, it's not a negative s being raised to the 5th. It's just s being raised to the 5th. So that comes out to be a negative 1 times s to the 5th times s to the 4th. And that gives us that negative s to the 9th power. Over, in the denominator, we have s to the 3rd power, because we're going to take s to the negative 3 and put that in the denominator as s to the 3rd. And then s raised to a negative 7, that's s to the 7th in the denominator. Multiply your like bases by adding your exponents, and then reduce, and you get a negative 1 over s. On to the next slide. Now with these are a little bit more complicated. I'm going to do the first one for you, and then you can work on some of the others. In number 1, I'm going to start by taking this negative and just flipping my entire fraction. So what I'm saying is negative exponents take the reciprocals. Well, the reciprocal of everything in here is 3 to the negative 6 over x to the 4th, y to the negative 2 squared. Now I'm going to distribute my negative 2 to each factor. So I have 3 to the negative 6 squared over x to the 4th squared times y to the negative 2 squared. Well, that's power to a power, so 3 raised to the negative 12 over x to the 8th times y to the negative 4th. Apply your negative exponent property. This has to be moved into the numerator. This gets moved into the denominator. So I have 3, let me backtrack. In the numerator, I have y to the positive 4 over 3 to the 12th. I'm going to leave that. I don't want to calculate what that is. Times x to the 8th. Now you do the other 3 and then come back and check your answers. All right, students, welcome back. Check your work. And if you have questions regarding how to utilize your exponent properties, please email Mr. Christofferson or your PreCalc teacher and ask them for some help in setting up a Zoom meeting to go over some of these things. There's also in your WHS Hub help sessions with your PreCalc teacher that you can sign up for to get help on exponents. Good luck and have yourself a great day.